That night, everything seemed perfect. I got ready as if it were for a romantic meeting, even if it was just a family dinner. I put on my favorite dress, the one that Ricardo always praised. I felt beautiful, safe, in love. He arrived waiting for me at the door with that smile that melted me inside. We climbed together, holding hands, and soon we were in the middle of the typical laughs and stories of Sunday night. But that's when Lucas, my youngest brother, opened the mouth that all started to crumble. Out of nowhere, with the cruel innocence of a child who does not measure words, he let out, "Sophia, why does Carol like all the photos of Ricardo on Instagram?" The silence that followed was so heavy that you could cut with the knife. My heart stopped for a second, but I took a deep breath and smiled, as if it were just a silly curiosity. Inside, however, my blood boiled. That planted a poisonous doubt in my mind. Carol? My sister? What did she have to do with Ricardo? But there, before my family, I just chewed the discomfort with dessert. After that dinner, Lucas's comment became a constant echo in my head. I tried to convince myself that it was just a coincidence, a silly paranoia. But the more I thought, the more my intuition shouted. And I learned the harsh feathers that a woman's intuition should never be ignored. That night, I lay down with Ricardo and pretended that everything was normal. He slept quietly, as if he had nothing to hide. And I there, turned to the ceiling, remembering every laugh that Carol gave when he was around. The times she said he was too beautiful to be with one. Was it really a joke? I woke up with that anguish glued to me. The idea of opening the Instagram and tuning every like I tried to me like a drug. But I resisted. I wanted a more concrete proof, something that surely gave myself before creating a storm. The problem is that, deep down, I already knew. I just didn't want to admit. It was there that my distrust became obsession, and when we start looking, always finds. I gave in. I couldn't stand it. I opened Ricardo's Instagram and went straight to the old photos, those of months ago, even before we started dating officially. There she was, like in all, even in the most random photos, like one of them eating hamburger or playing video games. And what made me more uncomfortable? The comments. Too much cat. This smile there is slutty. If I were your girlfriend, I wouldn't let you get out of the street. It was Carol who wrote this. My sister. That gave me a knot in my stomach. And the worst was to remember her hugging me after the dinners, saying I was happy for me. Happy? Was that happiness or provocation? Spent hours looking, analyzing every like, every emoji, every word. And the more I saw, the more the image of faithful sister crumbly. How had I not noticed before? I was blind, or was she very good to pretend? I started to remember quick glances between them, inner jokes, giggles at the bottom of the room. Things that I once found normal now gained new meaning. That night I didn't sleep. I only thought of how silent, hidden between the lines. What else did she hide from me? The next day, I looked in the mirror and tried to repeat to myself that I was exaggerating, that this was nothing, just an unfortunate coincidence, that my sister would never do this to me. But the truth was different. I had already seen enough to suspect, just didn't have the courage to face it yet. When I met Carol that afternoon, she was all smiling. He hugged me, spoke of the new nail polish, commented that he wanted to lend me a dress. I pretended that nothing was happening. I swallowed the discomfort, as if it were just an emotional flu that was soon going through, but it didn't pass. He stayed there, stuck in his throat, bothering me more and more. I spent all day watching her, noticing every gesture, every look at the cell phone. She typed and smiled on her own. I wanted to pull the phone out of her hand, but I just looked and smiled back, as if everything was okay. It was there that I decided I was not going to accuse without proof. I needed more. I needed something to show me if I was going crazy, or if she was really a cold blood. And that's when the universe started to help me. It was Friday night, and we agreed to ask for pizza, as in the old days. Only me, Carol, and Lucas thrown on the couch, laughing with bullshit on TV. I wanted to pretend it was okay, but my heart was racing with every vibration of cell phone she received. When the pizza arrived, I went to take my card to pay, but it was refused. I laughed embarrassed and asked Carol to cover. While she resolved with the delivery, I left her cell phone over the table to vibrate again. It was just a second, but enough for my curiosity to light up. Ricardo, that shown on the screen as a sign of fate. His name, stamped there, as if teasing me. Carol took her cell phone fast, without realizing that I had seen it. He pretended to. Normal, but stammered it when entering the password in the bank's app. There I knew it was not a coincidence. And my desire to confront was swallowed by a decision. I was going to wait. Just a little more. I wanted to see how far she would go. Because now, more than ever, I was ready to catch her in the act. The following Saturday, we were all at home. Again. My parents had gone out to dinner and left the house just for us. Carol and I were on the couch watching series, but my mind was far away. With each giggle of her, I wondered, is she talking to him now? Does it so exchanging messages while she pretends to be paying attention to the screen? Carol got up to pick up soda and left her cell phone unlocked in the corner of the couch. I couldn't resist. I took the device and looked fast. I just wanted a track, a confirmation, and it didn't take long. In the tab of recent conversations, there was, Ricardo. I touched the conversation. My heart hammered in my chest as if it were to explode. I read and barely believed. Are you coming today? I'm missing. Sophia doesn't know anything, KK. My eyes burned. It was real. It was her. It was him. It was all that I feared. I returned my cell phone to the place before she realized. When she came back, she pretended to be distracted, but inside me something had broken. I was no longer the same. That message was all I needed to turn pain into action. After seeing that message, I could no longer pretend. His name there, with that red heart on the side, was like a stub in my chest. I spent the rest of the night silent, sitting in my room, trying to gather the pieces of my sanity. The scene was repeated in my head. I'm longing. Sophia knows nothing. It was that. I was the joke, the clown of the story. As I prepared dinners, made plans, and dreamed of the future, the two had fun behind my back. I felt used, betrayed, humiliated. On Sunday morning, when I saw Ricardo getting home as if nothing had happened, my blood boiled. He hugged me, gave me a kiss, and I almost vomited. His boldness gave me disgust. And Carol, sitting on the couch, smiled like just another normal weekend. But nothing else was normal. That was going to end. And it was going to end my way. I just needed to wait for the right time to blow up the bomb, because now I was the one with the advantage. I needed proof, something that was undeniable. So, days later, while Carol took a shower and had left her cell phone in the living room, I couldn't resist. I moved my hands again, with tremendous hands, and went straight to the archived messages. And there was the paradise of betrayal. The conversation with Ricardo was full of offspring, but what is left was enough. Madrigata messages, nudes hidden by codes, schedules to meet while I was in college. It was dirty, and the worst, it seemed fun to them. You were amazing yesterday, he would send. Too bad my sister's idiot never suspects, she replied. There was one in particular that made me lose my air. She can't imagine yesterday I was in your bed before I went to her house. It destroyed me, but it also strengthened me. I took prints out of everything, sent it to my own cell phone, and deleted the tracks. At that moment, I didn't cry anymore. I planned, because the pain has a limit, and mine had just been overcome. Now it wasn't just revenge, it was justice. And I was going to serve her cold, the way they deserved it. I waited for the right moment. I kept the prints, organized everything like a dossier, and the next Saturday, I called them both to dinner. At home, a perfect trap. I prepared the table with love, made Ricardo's favorite dish, and put on a new dress that I bought just for this day. They arrived smiling, not knowing that that night would be the end of the scam. We all sat at the table, we toast with wine, and I pretended normality as a soap opera actress. Inside, my heart throbbing with anger and adrenaline. When the dessert arrived, I left the phone on the table, with the gallery open in the prints. I made a point of turning the screen for them. The silence that followed was better than any scream. Ricardo paled. Carol widened her eyes. So, was that what you were doing behind my back? Neither said anything. The cowardice was such that the air seemed to weigh in the environment. I got up, took the ring he gave me, and threw in front of him. Congratulations. You deserve each other. But never look in my face again. And I left, with my head up and my chest burning. 2 days later, Ricardo appeared at the door of my house. I didn't even warn or wanted to see, but he insisted so much that my curiosity won. I wanted to hear what excuse he was going to try to justify the unforgivable. He came in with that wet dog face and began to speak as if he was in a poorly written script. He said it was a mistake, that I didn't know what he was doing. He felt alone. Alone? With my sister? Is that what he called grace? Carol gave me attention when you were distant, he said. That's when my patience evaporated. Distant? I did everything for you, you idiot. And do you cheat on me with the closest person I have? He lowered his eyes without argument. And he still had the audacity to say that Carol seduced him, as if he were the victim of a trap. The wooden face was so much that it made me want to laugh. You just regretted it because you were caught, not because it cares. And with that, I closed the door in his face, literally, and with taste. After all, I sat in the kitchen and told my mother. She deserved to know what was happening under her own ceiling. I started slowly, but when I let go of the words Ricardo and Carol in the same sentence, her face paled. Carol did this to you? She asked in shock. I nodded, trying to hold back the tears. My mother was silent for a few seconds, then let out a heavy sigh and sat next to me. I always thought she was very competitive with you, but I never imagined that. That phrase hit me hard. So wasn't it just my head? Wasn't it an exaggeration? It was real. I wasn't crazy. She held my hand, squeezed hard, and said, You don't deserve to go through this. I am proud of the woman you are. And if they did it, they are the ones who lose, not you. It was the first time I allowed myself to collapse. I cried in my mother's arms. No longer sadness, but relief. Relief knowing that despite everything, I was not alone. And that, at that moment, was everything. Closing the relationship was more liberating than painful. There was no drama, no soap opera scenes. It was straightforward and without return. I grabbed the few things he had left in my room, put in a bag, and left it at his building with a note. Good luck with Carol. I blocked him in everything. Cellular, social networks, even email. I didn't want to know if he was going to send flowers or write text on Instagram. I didn't want more excuses. No empty promises. I wanted peace. The first days were strange. The emptiness in the room, the silence of the cell phone, the absence of messages, good morning. Everything shouted how part of my routine was. But then, over time, I started breathing better, sleep without anxiety, eat without knot in the throat. I understood that sometimes we attach ourselves to what you think is love, when in fact it is just lack of care. And I deserved more, much more. Finishing with him was the beginning of my reunion with myself, a painful but necessary process, because sometimes the end is just the push we needed to start over. Attachment to Carol was harder than ending with Ricardo, because it was not just loving betrayal, it was blood betrayal, of brotherhood, of trust. I waited a few days until everything calmed down. She was in the room, listening to music as if nothing had happened. I entered and closed the door. Her gaze waved, but kept her tone mockingly. Did you come to judge me now, perfect sister? No. I came to show you that you didn't just break a relationship. You destroyed a sister. She turned her face but said nothing. I continued. I will never understand how you were able to, but I hope one day feels half of the pain that caused me. Because this does not fix it with, it was unintentionally. She tried to defend herself, of course. That was impulse. That was needy. That Ricardo sought her first. But for me, none of this mattered more. I was not there for explanations. I was there by closing. Take good care of him, Carol. Now he is your problem. I left the room without looking back. Because some wounds we don't treat. We learn to live with the scar. I could have exposed the two on social networks, spread the prints, made a scandal worthy of a Mexican soap opera. But no, I wanted something smarter, colder, more definitive. I posted a single photo on Instagram. I, beautiful, full, in an expensive restaurant, with the caption, "Freedom tastes like wine and peace." It was enough to shoot the notifications. People asking, speculating, sending a message. And both? in silence. Because they knew they would open their mouths, I could show everything. A few days later, Carol sent me a message. A huge text trying to justify, apologize, saying that I missed me. I left it in a vacuum, because sometimes ignoring is more powerful than answering. Over time, I found that they did not last. Betrayal that begins with a lie does not survive. The blame. And honestly, I didn't even want the opposite. My revenge was to show that I am greater than the pain. That they may have wounded me, but they didn't destroy me. I rebuilt. With harder, more self-love, and a touch of cold indifference. Because the best answer to those who underestimate us is silence accompanied by success. Today, looking back, I realize how much this pain made me grow. I learned that love is not synonymous with constant sacrifice, nor of boundary forgiveness. I learned that those who really love you do not hide, do not lie, do not betray. The worst betrayal was not her boyfriend. It was my sister's. Because when it comes from someone who shared childhood, secrets, family, the wound goes deeper. But I also learned that we survive, we redo, stronger, more selective, smarter. I met again. I rediscovered my strength, my beauty, my value. I started taking care of myself in a different way, not to show them what they lost, but to remember what I deserve. If you've been through something similar, no, it's not the end. It's just the beginning of a new version of you. Truer, freer, more of yours. And if this video has moved you, comment below. I want to know your story. Enjoy, share, and subscribe to the channel, because here we transform pain into power and history in overcoming.